Y'all, top of the morning. Top of the morning. Sky Squad, we are back in the building. We gotta talk about this She by Shereé situation, baby, because the designer behind those designs that we saw walking down that runway is talking. Okay. And I talked to you guys about a post that was made um a few days ago when I did my initial review of the reunion. And Shereé brought out these receipts about how she paid the designer and Rowan, who allegedly had no skin in the game. Okay, let me put the alleged badge up here. Um, who allegedly has no skin in the game. Okay, as Shereé stated. Okay, she co-signed that the invoice was paid. Okay. All right. So let's get into the tea because the actual designer behind those designs did an interview with Pop Out Magazine, right? Now, you can find this interview. I'm going to put the link in the description and you guys can, I make sure I just subscribed as well to Born Billionaire. Now, Born Billionaire is the Instagram name for Tyree Lawan, who is a designer who has worked with plenty of people in the industry. Watch the video. You can get all the tea about his backstory, what I the sense that I got from him, and just kind of my best friend also being a designer, who can do many things, is that he is someone who is self-made. He is someone who is an independent designer. He can do a lot of work, and he can do it very fast, and he can do it very good. But if need be, he can also do it at a fraction of the cost, which is oftentimes, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, why a lot of people will go to him because he can be so fast, right? So he alleges that he was contacted by Rowan, and I have to say alleged because I wasn't there, right? So he tells us that he was contacted by Rowan, and basically this was about a week out from the fashion show. Oh yes, a week out. Do you guys know, I mean, what it usually takes for a design house to come up with a collection? Okay. That's why collections are done in the spring and in the fall. I mean, so there's months of planning that go into this. So he's been basically tasked with doing this in 7 days because they're going to be filming the fashion show in 7 days. There is no way on earth I would have been able to. Now I don't know what she was supposed to be doing beforehand. What I do know is that this had to have been like, okay, we okay, this what we had before didn't work out, so we need to find somebody that can do this last minute. What started out as the possibility of doing, eight pieces, he says turns into, well, 8 to 10. Two were allegedly for Shereé. So they're going through the pricing, and for what he would normally charge for that is about maybe 10 stacks or more, right? Bare minimum, because there's so much that has to be done. He has his own manufacturers that he works with, embroiderers, apparel houses that, because she not only wanted, pieces, she wanted accessories like bags and things, crossbody bags and stuff like that as well. So during the meeting, you know, he's, I guess maybe Rowan is texting him and saying not to go too low on his pricing, because I guess both of them are thinking, no, let's get into Rowan. Rowan apparently has her own shop, and her dresses, they cost a pretty penny. Okay. They cost a pretty penny from what I gather here. Now, Rowan, let's talk about Rowan, because he alleges that Rowan, her angle for this is, and as Shereé says, she had no skin in the game, but he alleges that Rowan really wanted to be on Real Housewives, okay, and really wanted to be kind of brought in as maybe like a friend, or get some type of full-time Peach on the show or whatever. You guys were, I do remember Rawan like being pretty funny going up against Kenya, if you guys recall from the scene, right? So Rawan has her own shop. She has her own thing going, right? She's already in her own business, in her own bag, and she's got, apparently a wealthy husband. Okay. So, as they're negotiating and Shereé is, basically coming down on the price and coming down on the price and coming down on the price, and they end up about 2,000 or so, right? Now, there's a part of this that I feel like there's some lessons we got to learn here in business for on everybody's end. And I feel like this was a hard learned lesson for Tyree because he's doing this based off the strength of his relationship with Rawan because he's worked with Rawan in the past. So he's thinking, okay, she's going to be good for it. Apparently, there was the thought that if Shereé wasn't able to pay, then Rawan would be able to, would cover whatever the fees were. And really, I think that he wanted to basically kind of keep that relationship with Rawan. But I think he also, I think he was like interested in, okay, this is about to be on TV. We can make this thing work. You know what I'm saying? 8 to 10 pieces. I'm going down on my fees. I got to do this in 7 days, but we're going to make it work. So the days continue to go by, and he never gets a deposit. Apparently, he only got about a $400 deposit. At which point, listen, in doing it, like I've DJ'd, okay. I've done a lot of things in the entertainment industry, behind the scenes as well. And I know what this business is really like. And I know that whether or not y'all think people got the coin like that, a lot of times they don't be having the coin like that. And this is not to call nobody out or nothing like that. Or they be very frugal with it, right? They don't really want to pay, you know what I'm saying? And something he said in the video, he was like, his everyday customers pay more and pay on time more so than sometimes some of these celebrities do. And so that's something that people really need to know, right? But to me, I'm gonna be honest with you, like there were a lot of red flags that I felt like popped up along the way because there was never a solid agreement on the pricing. And so I think that's what makes Shereé feel like she can say that the invoice was paid, but they did not solidify, like sign on the dotted line paperwork. That's what it sounds like to me. Okay. It sounds like a lot of this was based on relationships, and oftentimes in business, sometimes relationships. I'm sure his relationship with Rawan in the past might have been great, but now it ain't nothing. Okay. So for me, I'm feeling like we need some signatures. We need some signed documentation. I need some, this is what it's going to cost. And because he's also now making these pieces based on his own relationships with manufacturers. He's gotten quotes from manufacturers for what she wanted to have done in 7 days. Should have cost her about 80 to 120,000. Okay. For that many pieces that were custom, because of all the steps and things that needed to be done, right? So then I think it's about 4 days in, and then he finds out, at some point that they need 40 pieces. How we go from 8 to 40? Okay, so now we're up to 40 pieces that you got to do in about, the next, however many days, with still nothing but a deposit or $400. See, at that point, I would have stopped. But because he's given his word to Rawan, he's like, we about to make this thing happen. And I'm like, word or no word, to be honest with you, once I started to see, I don't know. And it's hard for me to say this because I know a couple of designers and I know how hard they work to deliver on deadlines. Because you got to look at it from the designer's perspective. The designer is designing. They are making. They are in the business of the making. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like respect what they're doing, right? And it's interesting to me that it feels like Rowan, I mean, somewhere along the way ends up, at first she had texted him and said, "Hey, listen, don't go low on her." But when Shereé ended up basically wanting to really lowball him, she was like, "Okay," she backed up off of it and she was like, "Okay, well, I'll reimburse you." That's what I'm getting from this, allegedly, right? Somewhere along the way, it became that. And so the day of the show, apparently, Shereé allegedly asked for him not to be seen, even though the next day was his birthday and he had a flight to catch, and he didn't even really want to be there. But they had no fittings for the models. So, and that's even the night before, because apparently the day before there were no models, right? So he's fitting these models and constructing the pieces and whatnot, and whoop de whoop. Fashions go down the runway. He's in the background doing things. Cameras are in his face, but apparently a producer told him that Shereé told them not to put him too much in it. Now, I think for him, ordinarily, he would be like, I wouldn't care if anybody knew any of this information. I wouldn't care if anybody knew that I did any of this, as long as I had been paid what I was supposed to have been paid. Because there's also the day rate of labor that you're doing when you're on set all day, right? You're doing the fittings, you're doing the customizations, you're doing the alterations on the spot. So there's this rate that, you're not being paid for that either. And I'm kind of like, now, bro, like, I mean, I understand wanting to keep your word, but I do feel like, again, red flags, red flags, red flags, my brother, red flags. Okay. Now, in terms of the amount that Shereé is saying was reimbursed, he says that he was reimbursed, I think what, 2,000 in total for everything that he did. Shereé allegedly came back to him after the fashion show and said, "Well, there was a piece that was sort of messed up, like I guess some type of nude coat that was messed up." So, and then she didn't really want to pay for anything that she says that she didn't ask for. And it was like, and he's like, "Wait, what? What you mean you didn't ask for? You were asking that the request was for 40 something pieces, and apparently maybe only 26 were used. I'm not sure." He also says that she has some pieces from some other place that he wasn't really sure about where. I think he might have said like AliExpress or Alibaba, but I'm not quite sure on that. Listen, it's crazy. So the reason I think that he is at this place where he is now, because I know a lot of you may be wondering, well, why even come to the table now with any of this? And I think it's because when she flashed that paper on the show and indicated that that everything was paid, he's like, no, it's not. It's not, and it's not good. After she sent him the last message about not wanting to pay for pieces that were not used, I think at that point, because he was still trying to collect payment, um that was not still not given to him, and I'm thinking at this point he's only gotten about $400. It sounds to me like at that point she blocked him on all platforms. So now he's still got this relationship with Rowan, but he says even that has gone to ish now because, she basically is co-signing Shereé and saying that the whole invoice was paid, knowing good and well that it wasn't, because also there was never any real finalization of the fee. So I mean, there's a lot of red flags, like I said here, that seem like they were popping up along the way. And Tyree, I really hope y'all. I want to say this: go out and support this brother. Number one, go follow him. Support your black designers. Pay the man. You know what I'm saying? I know. We were all prepared to pay for our She by Shereé, but just like we were prepared to pay the She by Shereé, the things that we saw on that runway are an indication of the work that the man is able to do. So if you want your custom pieces, go out, support the brother, and let's make sure that this man is able to continue to do good work. He offers classes and that sort of thing. You can watch the entire video. The link will be in the description down below. I just had to give you my review on the situation and my take on it. I mean, Andy said it best at the reunion. Shereé has a very interesting relationship with Bills. And it sounds like that continues to this day. And I said it, or I indicated it a little bit in the recap for the Real Housewives of Atlanta review, but Shereé also has an interesting relationship with credibility, because it's becoming a bit harder and harder for me to follow the trail of things that she says because there are a lot of inconsistencies. So I know as people, we talk a lot about Drew seeming inconsistent, but I think not enough is said about Shereé and her level of inconsistencies as well. I mean, but at the end of the day, she looks good. So, with that being said, let me know your thoughts on this. I mean, it's an hour-long watch, but I definitely say it's worth it if you want the entire timeline of events. And like I said, support your Black designers, and make sure you pay the folks. All right. With that being said, I will catch you all in the next video.